All right, everybody, what's up? Rocco and John here after a long Memorial Day weekend. Hope everybody had a fun time. I rocked out with Mick Jagger twice, so I'm pretty tired. He's 80, so it's pretty astounding to do what they do. Let's see what happened with the markets. Got an interesting list today. It's always good to see after a long weekend what is going on, what is persisting, and so on and so forth, and what have you, and things like that. I am tired. Let's do a screen share. That I'll remember to do this time, I think. All right, so let's look at the headline here. What happened today? So semiconductors trade to new all-time highs behind NVDA's big 7% addition of gains today. Oil added 3%. There is, geopolitical strife behind some of that move. Silver, a big 5% run today. While healthcare, a couple things got sold off all around the same amount as well. Through big sell programs or what have you. But it was healthcare, bonds. Bonds got hammered today. 2 standard deviation moved lower, meaning a rise in yield. Industrials and financials, and they all got sold off by 1.25%. So risk was taken off in terms of that equally. We'll look at all these charts, and we'll see what's kicking butt in the market right now. Semiconductors, as I said, new all-time highs. Taiwan hit a new 52-week high today. The best trades in the market, the last 5 trading sessions have been long solar stocks, short Chinese internet, and long semiconductors into these new all-time highs to Dizzle. All right, so let's take a look at the charts. First, real fast, let's take a look at today's intraday charts. For this, I got to stop and go back. Boopity, 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 bop. So today, a low volume day. I know we say it, we talk about it every time, but this was 20, I'm looking at right now, 30 million of shares have traded of SPY today, and that would rival only that of the Thanksgiving Friday session last year. So we're talking uber light volume, but they say never short a dull market. Volatility, and we'll look at that chart, was up 2% today. We've been talking about how it's up a little bit too low, even given lower volatility bands. But we'll look at all these charts today. So the market put in a high pre-market 8 a.m. We traded along those lines and fell out of bed a little bit at 2 o'clock. Hit a low at 2:30, and then boom, what would you have it right at 3:30, very close to the bell, actually. We rose right to that important VWAP number of 529.22, soared past it to close at 529.81, and up day in the SPY markets. All right, let's look at the charts. All right, so the first one here that we will look at, a big standard deviation move up today. Again, there was, missiles and rockets fired and such, so this led to a big move today, a multiple standard deviation move in oil, up 3%, right to its upper band. Look at that. It has been tightening, however. We've been talking about this, how this is a great support. If you can get in oil around 74.5, just strong support there, going back to, St. Patty's Day or, 2 months of support here. And it also marked, the highs here, going back to November. There's a meaningful level, especially for support, and it also coincides with, the 200-day moving average. A big line of support. And look, it popped right up. What do you do from here? I have another chart as well on a couple of different time frames. I think this was a nice surge. I think it might have a little bit more of a pop, but I think over the next week or two, I think this kind of visits 73. So I think you get another chance for this. I'm going to believe in this vol compression and not think that it's anything further. Also, didn't really break out of anything in the past month. Could be wrong, but I would see this as a last bit of a gasp and a good overall story. But I wouldn't buy here. I think that was the pop you were waiting for if you were long. All right, silver. Let's look what's going on here. A big move up of 5.5% nearly. Let's see where this is looking in the charts. We've been saying, let this come in, let this come in. If this was indeed the top, it looked like it was until today. Vamoosh. So now what do we do, especially if no position in your portfolio? I would give this still looks like it's in consolidating form. I'm zooming out of today and looking at 5 days. I would give this still my mantra, a week or two, see where this goes, ideally till the end of next week. See if it gets to around 2670. It's 21 exponential moving average. And then I would target that for a great move and target, a target of 28. But for right here, I'm still waiting for this to come in towards that moving average. You know how commodities move as well. Volatility, as we've been saying, it's too cheap. VXX, a multiple sigma move today, up 2%. Not huge, but hey. Yeah, so I'm looking at another chart. It's so hard to see, as you can tell, because of just how much of a failure this thing is. It just put in its 52-week low a couple days ago. So 2 sigma move higher sometimes isn't the hardest thing to do. All that being said, I see lower bands at around, 11.30. So, and this thing was up 24 cents. So, around 11 quarter-ish. It's pretty low. It's 21 exponential moving averages, 12.15, call it. So you could still see a bit of a mean reversion pop of 60 cents or, 5% or so over the next week or two. Overall, bigger picture, I think SPY is in a, I don't want to say sell mode, but I see a bit of a mean reversion move towards that, just 521 to 517 line after this high was put in. All that being said, semis did put in a high today, and that could lead to broader gains for the market. It's funny, or not funny, but the line kept on going up and up, obviously, with a rising 200-day, which is what we're tracking here loosely. So when we are saying before, I think last month's video, for example, it's calling for a mean reversion to 509 to 507 line. The moving averages are getting higher. It's not just going back and changing the data. I'm looking at that number, and then the sell populates. So all things bullish for the market is the ultimate takeaway, because those levels are rising. Okay, so we looked at, this was the VXX. Like I said, expect maybe 5% more upside over the next 1 to 2 weeks. So we looked at VXX before that. Let's go to XOP. That had a multiple sigma move on the back of that large move in oil. XOP, yeah, again, so I'm going to agree with the overall macro move that I'm going to wait for things to come in a little bit. Don't love this story overall. This peaked quite a bit of ways now. It looks like these specific names, I'm guessing this is the like Schlumberger and ExxonMobil. I'd have to look specifically for the constituency. But I don't, it could be basing, but I don't like the lower highs put in. You could see that. Even a layman could see that. And this is starting to, is this flattening out? It's still rising the 200-day, but ever so slightly. So this one's, I'm not going to say death support, but there's definitely higher velocity points to put your money in. This has been basing. The most bullish thing you could say is that it made its high within the past 2 months, and it's been basing for 2 months before ramping higher. I don't love it, though. Now, also the 50 RSI on a 14-day looks like it's the best it can do. So the buying pressure is not there. Lets me know that there's possibly other areas. And there's also money flow exit towards the end of the day, so larger sell orders could be possibly explaining these larger candles. Not a huge fan. Could be an opportunity here to get you out. It took you to the 21 exponential moving average today before this potentially heads to 145. I think it would get back to two times this in the next week or so. And semiconductors, the bell of the ball, new all-time highs today. Can't obviously say a bad thing about this chart. Let's see if we can say something. Yep, new all-time highs, green skies ahead. This is emblematic for the market. The market is much tech. Obviously, as you can see, everyone just goes nuts for NVIDIA. And I'm not even sure what the news was today. Doesn't really matter. 7% is 7%. Was there even news on NVIDIA? Doesn't even matter. But anyways, where was the chart I was looking for? There you go. Yeah, so semiconductors, new all-time highs. Whoops, a couple things just went wonky on my screen. So we just approached overbought here as we got into it. Doesn't mean, I mean, it could still persist. This could continue. I'm not going to chase this here. I think, I don't know, I said that thing about one large gasp for the specific market place earlier about the XOP giving you a chance to exit. I'm not saying that's super car right now with the S&Ps, but I don't know, this is a nice move. The 21 exponential, and this is closer to 228. So you got a $21 move lower if it mean reverts to that, which it's been known to. Yeah, I would give this a week or two and see if it gets towards that 228, 230 level before trying to get a long. Basically, same goes for NVIDIA. Market difference in percent for the move, obviously. Okay, the down move, some things moved lower in a big way. Let's see. XLV, a big move lower. Let's see. So the other ones before, my Rolling Stones guitar fell down. I feel like Jim Cramer with this, or Tony Kornheiser. I'm going to sign off with this later. So XLV, a big move lower, 1.2%. That is a big bar lower. Yeah, 21-day exponential moving average of 144. It ripped through that today. I wait this for come in. I wait for this to come in. I think it settles around 140. I like this support behind the 200-day. I think it probably rests right around this 140 line, the lower Bollinger Band point. Also 138 support there, and this goes all the way back to mid to late January. So big support there for XLV. In terms of the story, not a lot of velocity. It could be resting, and the fact that it hit its highs in February. Don't like that it became oversold, and then when it became overbought, it couldn't squeak out new highs. So again, better areas for your money. Let's look at the real talk of today. In addition to the semiconductors, it's TLT. A big move lower here, down 1.4%. Yields shot up. This looks like, I think it's going to maybe give a little bit lower. I see support. This needs a little bit, not as much as 1 to 2 weeks, maybe, because it's already been doing it for, almost a week and a half of trading sessions here. I'm looking at this longer term moving average in a different money flow band. I think 88 it could test over the next week. I don't think much more than that. I think rates have gotten a little bit too a little high enough for this period, and then you'll start to see relief. So yeah, TLT a big move lower here. I don't see too much more. Maybe down to 88, which would be another move of this proportion, but then it would rally from there. Probably to this resistance line again, 92, and chop along from there. All right, they sold XLI as well today. So rates affected names. You need rates, and you need to borrow money for to buy big, expensive machinery and equipment. So you hammer stuff like this because it costs you a little bit more. Overall, though, a nice story, a nice 200-day moving average. It topped here on April 4th at 126, just $3 away from where we are. This looks good overall. I think it still has could give a little way. What's the lower band? 121. Yeah, it might be done, but I think it might not be, just given the backdrop of the rest of the markets. I think it could have a little bit more. But if the rate story is done for now, then you should see a bounce in this name. This doesn't look too bad, though. XLF financials, they sold as well with their rise in rates. Always you say rising rates, oh, good for banks. You always be 1-for-1 correlated, people thought, but they move every which way now. We'll look at healthcare and tech. They sometimes still move the same way. XLF put in its high more recently. A bunch of the charts we just were looking at, the oils and whatnot. So May 17th, it put in its high around 42.5. This looks like similar to the path to the chart we just looked at, the XLI. I think this might want to come down to 40.5, maybe a little bit lower before you want to nibble. And then I would think potentially new highs in the cards. High for longer, I think, after all, is overall net good for financials. I think they'll position themselves. Biotechs, however, on the opposite end, they want low rates because they do not have a massively profitable product yet. So these guys got hammered today. Not hammered, it's biotech, but they did get a multiple standard deviation move, which is why it's on my radar, down 1.2%. This topped way back here in February at 141. It's technically just staying range bound for this year, between 125 and 140. It was oversold most recently before barely squeaking out overbought last week. I think you give us a little bit of time to come in. This might come as low as 130 if people get shaken out because of the higher rate story. So this has maybe $5 more to the extreme low point end before it can position to move back to this point. All right, so those were the down moves of today. Let's look at the best trades of the market from the long side. No repeating charts. Solar, if you're still in solar stocks, congrats. That is the best trade in the market. The best long out of all trades. Best long, best short. It is TAN up 12.5% in the past 5 days. Golly. All right, looks like it had an interesting point here. Is this an attitude change or an environment change? It crossed over the 200-day moving average, which is downward sloping. To me, typically, this is where it's going to hit its head. I've tracked before TAN, and this is literally the point where it gets tired. The upper band is 46.75. It is way above that today. Actually, only closed up 0.2 5 today. Its upper band is around 46.75. I think this could come down hard. I'm almost surprised it didn't today with the rates move. And I think Tesla was down pretty hard. So all that being said, I think this is moving to 43.5, and I'd say pretty swiftly. 44, something like that. But this is going to come down. I don't think I'm really looking for puts at the moment, but if I was, it would be this. I just don't believe that it's going to rise above this. And this is today's candle, this little red bar. So we opened at 48.64, closed at 47.45 after hitting a high of 48.67. Yeah, I think the top is in for the solar stocks. It's an interesting point because it's the best trade in the marketplace right now. All right, semiconductors. Already looked at that chart. Not going to do that again. That's the second best long in the market. Taiwan is the third best long. I need a drink. I'm dying here. Didn't need a drink during the stones though. I had a lot then. Give me shelter. Give me shelter now. No singing on the video. No singing. All right. EWT. This looks good. This looks good for an entry here. Actually, let me watch that here. It is ahead. In terms of the 21, a good point. It was up a big 1.2% today. If you get in at 49.80, I know that's way in the background here, but it was just actually wasn't there all the way 2 weeks ago. This one's tough because it's coming in terms of time. I like that it was. This is a tough one because it has a lot of momentum right now, but longer term, the 200 day is flat. So you don't want to overpay, but there's 52-week high here, and the entire range essentially, not essentially, it is 42 to 52 the entire year. You slap a 1 year 50% fibbo right in the middle of 47, and that's your ultimate line of sand, but you're not going to get an entry that good. Overall good if you want emerging market exposure. You can get a leg into EWT, but I'm not going to play with it here. VXX, we looked at that chart already, and USO, we looked at already. Those are the 5 best gaining trades in the marketplace. Let's go to the losers. K-Web, the best losing, the best short on the market in the past week, down 6.5% over the past 5 days. Let's take a look. Yeah, so when it was over here, I believe we said let's not chase it, especially as it's chasing its upper band towards that 90, towards that 32, 33 handle. And we said wait for it to come in. At the time, let me say, where was its exponential moving average for 21 day on the 17th? It was, we literally said wait till around 29.75.30. We closed at 29.80.86. That's what you call for. Usually that's what you get. I mean, that's what you should execute on. This could come in a little bit more, but you do have a good entry right at that position. The live 21 day exponential moving average is 30.0 nickel. So you're getting a discount to that. This looks good if you want exposure to this story. If I was looking for longs right here, right now, this would be one of them. I might add this like next week. CopX is the second biggest loser. This thing has been so, like Hansel, so hot right now. Copper miners, so hot. This thing put in its highs just on the 20th, just 8 days ago at, call it $53. It moved down. This might have a little bit more chopping around, in my opinion, to do till it finally settles around 48, 49, and then rallies higher. But in terms of time, very strong. You can see the incline here, the 200-day. Good-looking move here, overbought many different environments and situations and for different durations of time. So good. I would give this one a little bit more time, see if you can get in around 48 in like a week, by the end of next week. Mexico, wow, down a big 5% in the past week. Mexico, I used to play this one a lot last year. Overall, not a great story. A lot of chop. Investors have not been magnetized to this story. It used to be, China's loss was Mexico's gain, I believe was the narrative there. And a lot of the North American, like from car makers to other industrials, would use a lot more of the, Mexico for a lot of uses. And I don't know, maybe China, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and vice versa. China's back on its feet, and Mexico is the one, experiencing the pain of their, advances. So all that being said, this has done nothing since literally Christmas, since Thanksgiving, Christmas time. It's been around 64 to 70. It did hit its new highs on April 9th, but immediately got tired. I think this has support right around 64. Yeah, I mean, not going out on a limb here. So I think that's what you're going to get, though. I think it might test this 200-day moving average. Maybe it could be done right around here, maybe a little bit more, and they're just going to chop around there. You're going to stay inside. So not high velocity as evidenced on this page. We said FXI already. No, here's FXI. The fourth, The fourth biggest losing trade in the market. You can see why. Bang, bang, bang. From half all the way to 27.5 in just a few sessions. So that's where your 5% is. We talked about KWeb. This is obviously very correlated with KWeb. Let's see. So China here, if you didn't want to chase it, super overbought for 3 weeks. Now what do? Same difference. What we were talking about, the 21-day exponential moving average is around 27.45 right now. That's where you're at. This looks pretty good. This is actually so opposite of TAN, where, and not to say that this can't happen. So TAN had its first day popping above its longer-term moving average, so it's extremely heavy. This is now chopped above it or traded above it for exactly 4 weeks. So this is growing sample size, and now if this can stabilize, this can really have some lift to the upside. This is even more easier to see because this has 30.5 as its July 52-week high. So you have levels for this. In terms of adding, this looks good. I have to do a side-by-side comp with the KWeb, but this looks good in terms of entry right around here, 27.5. And I'd say for target, because you're getting a little bit of vol expansion, I would say 29 for a target. So this looks good too. This part of the world is now attracting investor dollars, as you can tell, being overbought for 3 weeks. Just coming out of it, holding the 14-day RSI, looks good for investment. And I was the last person to say on China, wait to see if it's investable and all that. Wait for it. And I say holding your 200-day, even though it's falling and it's going to stop falling very soon. It could be this week, actually. I'm looking at it, still dropping. It's going to drop. It's going to stop dropping very soon, especially if it can hold above a very 0.2510 level. Unless it has a 10% decline, it should. And then lastly, airlines, the fifth biggest loser in the market over the past week. Of course, that is correlated. Oil's up 1.5% over the past week. It's going to hurt your airlines most of the time. Airlines down 5% or an average of 1% per day. Let's take a look at the charts. This one put its highs in, almost similar to China. Is this also in July? Yeah, also July. So still rising, though. Kind of heavy, though. Very tight to its, a couple to its 200-day moving average. I could make a case for buying. I don't think this is going to fall too much more. I think 1980 is probably the lowest. It might want to retest these April lows, but I don't think so. It's just tightly coupled in this range. Kind of, down 1.7 is on a huge move. It barely made the it barely made this cut for the top 5 losers. I think it's kind of done, but you're probably going to get some chop. And it's just all it's going to do is probably bounce to 21. Maybe I'll probably stay inside here. So 20 to 21, not a huge move, couple percent. All right. So best 3 trades of the market in the past 5 days: long solar stocks or TAN, short KWeb, although I think that's going to change very soon, and it looks attractive for a buy. And then the long semis, all-time highs today. All right, that was a mouthful. Talk to you later. Peace. Oh, yeah.